Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for joining us. It is triple threes right now, 3:33 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:33 on the West Coast. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. A decent amount of people, of course, watching live and the replay of the coverage with Robert McNeely just earlier. Great to see that, and we are happy to be on the right side of history in conservative media here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So in about half an hour, so less than 30 minutes from now, the president will deliver remarks on making health technology great again. That's going to be from the East Room of the White House. As you may have seen earlier today, President Trump officially signed the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act into law. So Wisconsin Congressman Derek Van Orden had this to say about the president earlier today. All right, that's coming up here in just a second. Wednesday, July 30th. Looking forward to sharing with you a lot of videos from the day here coming up in just a minute. I'm glad you're with us here on Right Side. You know, there's going to be coverage, of course, tomorrow and Friday, and of course next week as we continue to cover President Trump and the team there. A lot of content, a lot of stories to get to, of course, in the 24/7 news cycle. Looking forward to having all of that here with you in just a minute. So earlier today, if you'd like to watch the replay in regards to some of these clips we're going to throw to, you can do that. Also, there's a lot of other videos we're going to go to here in just a bit. So let's go to that once again, as we know that President Trump was also talking about Nancy Pelosi. We'll get to that in a second. But let's go back to Wisconsin Congressman Derek Van Orden. He had this to say about the president earlier today.
Thank you, everybody, for coming here today. Thank you, Mr. President, for hosting us here. I'm the longest-serving enlisted member of the United States military to ever get elected to Congress in the history of our nation. And I'm unequivocally stating right now that President Donald J. Trump is the most positive, pro-veteran president in the history of this country. And so he backs up his words with deeds, and this is another example of how President Trump is taking care of our veterans. So, sir, I'm very thankful for you, for your leadership, and let's get this thing done and get our veterans into homes. So God bless you, and God bless the United States.
So it's great to see that, of course, earlier today with President Trump. We'll be seeing the president here shortly. A lot of news to get to during the next 30 minutes, a lot of videos to play as well, all when it comes to this 24/7 news cycle. Now, President Trump also said some specifics about Nancy Pelosi, saying, quote, Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information. She made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. She ought to be investigated, end quote. So President Trump saying that's making its rounds on social media. Also making its rounds in other news, the Fed's too late Jerome Powell says interest rates will remain unchanged. So we'll see if there are any changes there in the future. Meantime, make America and Brazil great again. This could happen through measures taken by the White House today. Check this out here. This is from the White House's facts page when it comes to various things happening out there, addressing a national emergency. Today, the president signed an executive order implementing an additional 40% tariff on Brazil, bringing the total tariff amount to 50%. So this is to deal with recent policies, practices, and actions by the government of Brazil that constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. This is a big story, in my opinion, because this is something where we've covered things that are happening in Brazil and other countries out there, and we know that Jair Bolsonaro is the rightful president of that country. The election was taken from him, given to Lula. It's been a you-know-what kind of show since then for the people of Brazil. And it's great to see that the White House, the President of the United States, is taking measures to combat what's going on there in Brazil by increasing this tariff. Recently, we're told from the White House, members of the government of Brazil have taken unprecedented actions to tyrannically and arbitrarily coerce U.S. companies to censor, get this, political speech, deplatform users, turn over sensitive U.S. user data, or change their content moderation policies on pain of extraordinary fines, criminal prosecution, asset freezes, or complete exclusion from the Brazilian market. The White House is saying this undermines not only the viability of U.S. companies and their business operations in Brazil, but it also the policy of the United States in promoting free and fair elections and safeguarding fundamental human rights at home and abroad. So there's a lot to read there. I posted it on my Truth Social. It's great to see what the president and the team at the White House is looking at when it comes to the country of Brazil with this situation. I know when you think of other countries, you're like, well, wait, what about America first? Well, again, that just listed a number of things there that are against our country, but also, standing for that beacon of hope that we are, of freedom in this country. We'll get to some more of that in just a bit here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, we're awaiting the president to speak on making health technology great again. Looking forward to that. Speaking of the White House there's a video out there about closing the border. Take a look.
We will close the border.
This is an executive order taking a large number of executive actions to secure our southern border.
It's now time for America to wage war on the cartels. We officially designated Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. I will end catch and release. We ended catch and release.
China has to stop sending fentanyl into our country and killing our people.
And now with the signing of the HALT Fentanyl Act, we are delivering another defeat for the savage drug smugglers and criminals and the cartels. My administration will deliver justice for every family whose loved one has been stolen from them by migrant crime, including Lake and Riley. The very first bill I signed into law mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program of criminals. We're locating and loading illegal aliens into military aircraft and flying them back to the places from which they came. Kamala's app for illegals will be shut down immediately.
CBP launched an enhanced home mobile app with a new feature, the intent to depart.
Great to see that video there. That's specifically, a promise made, promise kept, as we continue to monitor all of these different investigations and stories and the 20 core promises to the American people, really set on seeing those reforms locked in for this country, not only for these 3.5 years that we have with the great President Donald J. Trump, but also for years to come. And I believe one way that is to happen is something that we've been seeing President Trump post on Truth Social, what we saw with Tulsi Gabbard last week at the press conference when it comes to holding people accountable. So we'll see and monitor those kind of stories, and also any updates with the DOJ and the Epstein case as well. So we're watching, as they said back in the day, watching the wires or seeing the wires come down. Usually it would be Reuters or the AP, that kind of thing. That was more of a mainstream media thing. Here at the network, of course, we have our White House communications office that emails our network, but all of the networks out there. So we know what the public schedule is for the president. Also, we're in a different world now. X and Truth Social and all these social media platforms, the information age is now complete. We're able to get information in lightning speed. I mean, think about it. The earthquake, the 8.8 earthquake that happened yesterday, as soon as that happened, minutes later, it's already on X. We already know about it. We already know to, take care of business from there and get protection in order. So, the information age is complete. The information travels so quickly, as you know. Now it's that robotic and AI age that we're entering into. Hopefully it's always used for good, but we'll see. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, one of our great sponsors here at Right Side. Medical freedom, of course, starts with access, and that's exactly what All Family Pharmacy delivers. They're changing the way people get their medications. No insurance, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped straight to your door. That's always good, because getting the treatments you need shouldn't be complicated. So there's this 3-step process. It's very simple. All Family Pharmacy makes it extremely simple. So number 1, you just select the medications that you need online. Number 2, a licensed doctor reviews your order and writes the prescription. Number 3, your medications are shipped directly to your door. So it's really easy stuff there. They carry the essentials, NAD+, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and more than 200 other medications. So every order, we're told, includes the doctor's prescription. So you could take control of your health with a pharmacy that actually works for you. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that card, RSBN 10, to save 10%. Our next great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network is PDS Debt. Check this out. Specifically, one of the great sponsors as well, because you know what? When it comes to money, it's always good to know how to save or get out of debt, that kind of thing. So specifically, we know that the system isn't broken, it's rigged. And if you're buried in debt, that's exactly how they want it. Big banks, they profit from you when you're desperate. Creditors win when you lose, but you don't have to play their game. PDS Debt helps you take back control. They've helped hundreds of thousands break free from credit cards, loans, and high interest traps. It's your money, it's your future. It's time to fight for both. You can do that with PDS Debt here. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. So there's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, of course, in your pocket. PDS Debt is an A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google, and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Why? Well, because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. So this is definitely a product that I'd use if I ever needed it, because think about this. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/RSBN. That's pdsdebt.com/RSBN. You see that information right there on your screen. It's 3:45 Eastern Time, Wednesday, July 30th. Looking live there at the East Room of the White House. We're going to see the President of the United States there talking about making health technology great again. So we'll hear what that's all about coming up in just a minute. In the meantime, we have a lot of videos to get to. Before we get to some more of the freshest content that's out there, let's go to something that, of course, we heard about from President Trump on his trip on the way back from Scotland yesterday. That Russia has 9 days now until President Trump issues tariffs against the country. That, according to the president on Air Force One during that return trip to Scotland. So we'll see what may happen in those 9 days from now. And of course, we're always monitoring the latest when it comes to any developments within the Department of National Intelligence regarding its reporting to the DOJ and FBI regarding Obama and the gang related to that election interference situation from 2016 and 2020. And we're also monitoring any development from the DOJ regarding the Epstein case. So those are two, of course, big stories that people have been talking about. There's a few other stories that people have been talking about as well. We'll get to a number of them here shortly. Again, as it's 3:46 on this Wednesday, July 30th. Let's go to a couple more videos here from earlier today and within the 24/7 news cycle. So the Department of Homeland Security talking about promises of America is worth protecting. The promises of America is worth protecting, DHS says. The future of our homeland is worth defending. Check out this video as well.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
All right, so seeing the DHS video there, great video, talking about protecting the homeland. Let's now shift over to the White House. You see there a live picture from the East Room. State leaders actually across the country are celebrating President Trump's one big, beautiful law now. From boosting jobs and prioritizing Made in America to increasing savings, it's delivering big results. Take a look.
I'm Frank LaRose, the Ohio Secretary of State.
I'm Denny Hoskins, Missouri's 41st Secretary of State.
I'm Cole Jester, Arkansas Secretary of State.
I'm Tennessee Secretary of State Trey Hargett.
I'm Michael Watson, Mississippi's 36th Secretary of State. I want to say thank you so very much to President Trump really for keeping his word. When we talk about jobs in Mississippi, the one big beautiful bill is going to save roughly 50,000 jobs, it's estimated, for our state, and that's an incredible thing. We talk about reshoring manufacturing here in our country, and in Mississippi we have Ingalls Shipbuilding, we have other shipbuilders as well, but that's incredibly important for our country, for the defense of our national interests.
I just want to say thank you to President Trump and his administration for what they did in the big beautiful bill. It definitely puts Main Street and our rural communities over Wall Street by helping out our small businesses and trying to make products made here in America. It also helps incentivizes tax credits to have children go to the school of their choice.
He told Americans that they were going to keep more of what they earned, and with the big beautiful bill, that's exactly what they're going to do. Ohioans in particular are going to see savings for an average family between $7,000 and $9,000. That really makes a difference.
For too long, we've asked our Border Patrol and ICE to do too much with too little funding, and this allows them to fulfill their critical mission. And it's going to bring jobs and rising incomes to Arkansans, where people who work for tips, people who are making overtime, will see money in their pockets, where thousands of new jobs are going to be created, and where in Arkansas, the American dream will be even brighter because of the big, beautiful bill.
I want to congratulate President Trump and our fantastic delegation from Tennessee for passing this landmark legislation that's going to do even more to stimulate Tennessee's already growing economy, to make sure we protect our border and protect the future of our Tennesseans so we can continue to have prosperity and peace across our great nation. Thank you for your leadership, Mr. President.
Great video there as well. We are live right now. We're about 10 minutes out from the start of the 4 o'clock event there. If it starts right on time, obviously we'll have it for you. If it's a little bit delayed, we will be standing by for it. We have plenty to talk about, of course, plenty of fresh content to get to here on the network as we continue to monitor news that everybody's really talking about out there, but also, really looking into specifics like what just happened with President Trump and the country of Brazil. There are some more tariffs going against Brazil. We'll dive into why that's happening in just a minute. Let's first go to a couple of our great sponsors. Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415 is that number. tnusa.com/RSBN. Great information that you can get there. If you're looking to settle back taxes or you have any questions about how to get on track and get that peace of mind, you can do so with Tax Network USA. 800-357-1415 is the number. Usually calling is probably maybe better in some cases because you really just want to share the details with that person. But if you'd rather check it out first online or do all the work online, it's tnusa.com/RSBN. Speaking of online and speaking of /RSBN, mypillow.com/RSBN. Free shipping sale, always good to see that. Always good to see the word free when it comes to shipping sale. I mean, it would be great if everything was free, but it's not. So we do know this, that if you go to mypillow.com/RSBN, there's more than 2,000 products for you to choose from on there. So go ahead and check it out if you'd like. There's a lot of, again, you're talking coffee, the slides, slippers, pillows, Giza Dream sheets, on and on and on. The dog bed, the mattress topper, the towels, the MyCross, the MyPillow, on and on and on. So there's a lot of great stuff there. mypillow.com/RSBN. Thanks so much for supporting all of our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so let's continue on here. Let's talk about the next thing, the Department of Energy. So Secretary Chris Wright said, for far too long, politics surrounding climate change have shrunk your life possibilities and put American businesses at risk. That ends now under President Trump. Take a look at, we don't have that clip, we're told, so let's move on to the next one. Let's go to the Department of Homeland Security. So Secretary Kristi Noem said, quote, leave legally because you won't miss this flight and it's your last chance to get on board the right way. So this is a new DHS ad running nationwide. The Secretary Noem says and encourages illegal aliens to go home the right way using the CBP Home app. Take a look.
If you're an illegal alien living in the United States, this runway is your future. Because one way or another, you're getting on a plane home. But how you get there is up to you. I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. You can make it easy, like others who've made the right choice, by downloading the CBP Home app and safely self-deporting. They received financial assistance up to $1,000, a free flight home, and they have the chance to come back to America legally. Or your trip home can be hard. We will find you. You will be fined thousands of dollars, detained, and forcefully removed from our country. Leave legally because you won't miss this flight. And it's your last chance to get on board the right way. Under President Trump's strong leadership, we follow the law, and our border is secure.
You know, that was the main thing. You remember all those interviews outside of all of those rallies, everyone said, we asked them, what's the top couple policies or things you want to see done for the country? And they said, seal the border and help us with the economy. Seal the border, seal the border. It was repeated so many times as one of the top things to take care of. And then, of course, President Trump gets into office, and right away he says, you know what? It's a national emergency on the southern border, sends troops there, and guess what? Now the border is sealed. We're seeing various photos of the new border wall be put into place there. So it's going to be great to have that protection just with the wall itself. And then on top of that, you've got the military. You have Customs Border Protection. You have ICE doing a great job out there getting criminal illegal aliens out of our country. So we're seeing these great things happen thanks to President Trump. And we're going to get into specifics about Brazil here in just a minute, as well as the president just added some tariffs against the country. But the reason why is what I want to really share with you, the American people, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching this on replay, no matter where you're watching right now, is because it has everything to do with common sense and protecting freedoms. And we see what's been happening in Brazil being totally against that, attacking in various ways Jair Bolsonaro, the former president there. And it's great to see President Trump stepping up and saying, no, listen, you're going to keep this up. We're going to tariff you. We're going to talk to you guys. We're going to show you that this is the way it's done here. I mean, we need to have that protection for the free world. I know that President Trump is the president of this country, but it's great to see that obviously he's aware of that kind of thing happening in other parts of the world, and he doesn't want that to happen here. And I believe one of those ways for that not to happen here is, of course, the prosecutions for anybody that broke the law. Hold people accountable so we can keep these 20 core promises the way it is for not only these 3.5 years, but well into the future. All right, so as we await the president there, let's get back to that Department of Energy video. So Secretary Chris Wright said, for far too long, politics surrounding climate change have shrunk your life possibilities and put American businesses at risk. And he said that ends now under President Trump. Take a look.
Today is a momentous day for liberty, for freedom, and for energy to drive betterment of your lives. And there is no better place to do this than right here in the heartland, the industrial capital of our country. I'm thrilled and honored to be here, and I'm here, and Minister Zeldin is here only because American people decided firmly in favor of common sense, to bring back common sense to Washington, and they overwhelmingly elected President Trump to do that. And he takes that mission with a passion. He does not back down from any challenge, any threat to that. He believes in the American dream, and we're here to restore the American dream. It's deeply personal for me. I found out soon after I turned 13 that I was type 1 diabetic. If I was born any generation, except for the last few generations, that meant I didn't get a 14th birthday party. 13 was all I got. But in the modern world today, that's a condition that you live with. I'm gonna die of old age. And it's increasingly easy to do, to live with it, because of the technologies, the innovation, and the energy that make the modern world possible. I think two things drove the rise of the modern world. It's only a few generations ago, human life expectancy was 30 years globally. Today it's 73. 90% of people lived in dire poverty. They didn't grow to the same size we are because they were in starvation. Two things changed the world. The growth of human liberty, bottom-up social organization. We ended slavery. Women were enfranchised. Governments didn't control everything and people were free. And they built this awesome world. The other piece was energy, the explosion in available energy from coal, oil, and natural gas. And then those energy sources in turn enabled other energy sources like nuclear, hydroelectric, wind, solar, everything else are derivative from hydrocarbons. Liberty and energy matter. When I heard the endangerment finding announcement 17 years ago that they had found, as someone who was already involved in the climate discussion, was already involved in the energy world, clearly they didn't look at the data, they didn't understand climate change, they didn't appreciate how energy works. But this ruling happened, and it happened because they couldn't do it through the House and the Senate and the presidency, the normal lawmaking process. They found a backdoor way to take away your freedom and to make your life more expensive and shrink your life opportunities. That's what they did, and that's what they've been doing for 17 years. We are here today, and so when Minister Zeldin and I discussed this, we said we got to look at this thoughtfully and factually. We're not power-hungry people who want to control American lives. We want to set them free, and we want to follow the law and the institutions established by our awesome, truly awesome founding fathers of this country. Yes, sir. And we set out. I reached out, as someone who'd been in the climate world for 20 plus years, I reached out to 5 scientists. I had many more on my list, but the first 5 all said yes. I said, this is what I want you to do. I know you have worked in this field your career. You're smart, you're accomplished, and you have not been cowed by the politics of climate change. You've followed the data. You all have different views, but you follow the data and follow the facts. That's what America is going to do, and we need your help. And I initiated a study to create a report that's released today. It's on the DOE website. You'll see press releases about it. And it was to be an honest, credible, data and fact-driven assessment of climate change. That report went through some internal peer review at the Department of Energy and the national labs. Now the public is open to engage in a thoughtful dialogue about what is climate change. It is a real physical phenomenon. It's worthy of study. It's worthy of even some action. But what we have done instead is nothing related to the actual science of climate change or pragmatic ways to make progress. But this paper is released. I encourage everyone to read it and to engage into this topic. Because whether you're interested in climate change or not, the politics surrounding climate change have shrunk your life possibilities, have put your business here at threat. Can you imagine how much cargo we could transport around the country if you only could use an electric truck, which, by the way, offers roughly 0 reduction in greenhouse gas emissions? Electric vehicles are not climate tools, but they're politically popular because rich people like them. So they've been deemed to be climate solutions. We want to get back to science and data and facts. That's the plan of the Trump administration. That's the plan of Minister Zeldin and I. We're excited to have that dialogue and to engage the American public on it, because the net result of this is going to be a more thoughtful world, a more prosperous world, a more opportunity-rich world. The practical application is going to be lower cost vehicles, lower cost consumer products, lower energy bills, and all the things Americans instinctually want. But that's a process. I'm prejudging my own opinion. We will go through a process with professional review, with the American public review on everything we're trying to do here. I believe today will go down as a momentous day for freedom and liberty in our country, brought to you by President Trump.
All right, so we're checking out various content, of course, over the past 24 to 48 hours on X, on Truth Social, all from government accounts, all within the Trump administration. You see the East Room there at the White House. This event slated to start any minute from now, right there on the east side of that great White House. Of course, we'll see President Trump. It'll be the Make Health Technology Great Again. So Make Health Technology Great Again. Of course, we'll have that for you for its entirety coming up. We have a number of videos to get to yet, some content for you. But before we do, let's go to a couple of our sponsors. Let's go to our first sponsor right here, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Medical freedom, of course, starts with access, and that's exactly what All Family Pharmacy delivers. They're changing the way people get their medications. So no insurance, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped directly to your door. Because getting the treatments you need shouldn't be complicated. All Family Pharmacy makes it simple in just 3 easy steps. They select the medications you need online, so you can select the medications you need. Then a licensed doctor reviews your order and writes the prescription. From there, your medications are shipped directly to your door. So they carry the essentials like NAD+, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and over 200 more medications. And yes, every order includes a doctor's prescription. So you can take control of your health with a pharmacy that actually works for you. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use the code there, RSBN10, to save 10%. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So RSBN to 801-801. Also, if you'd like to send cash or check by mail, some of us, we received that information that's what you'd like to do. So you can do so at 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. If you missed that address, if you want to just pause and scrub back a little bit, you can check it out. But thanks so much for supporting Right Side Broadcasting Network, supporting conservative media on the right side of history, all about common sense, all about the red, white, and blue. Come on now. On this Wednesday, July 30th. Thanks so much again for joining us. We're going to get to President Trump's latest Truth Social post in just a minute. Before we go there, let's go to the Undersecretary of Defense, Emil Michael. He is talking about unleashing U.S. drone dominance, American-made, American-tested, and American-built. Take a look.
What you're seeing here is the beginning of American drone dominance. That's right. It's my job to ensure that we have technological superiority for our warfighters against our adversaries. And what you see here today is 18 systems developed in America, developed in the last 18 months. And this is just the beginning of Secretary Hegseth's push for our department to do things rapidly to make sure our warfighters are equipped and trained to use these weapons if they need to.
We will speed up the timeline of rapid innovation. We have to, on behalf of our warfighters, on behalf of the threats that we face around the globe. We need to be world class, and we will. So you're seeing 18 prototypes today rapidly fielded. We will be 2, 3, 4x that quickly as we move and open the aperture for other companies and other systems to be rapidly tested and fielded by units. Also, pushing decisions down to lower level leaders. What do I need in my COCOM? What do I need in my AOR? American made, American tested, American built. I like it.
Okay, so seeing various videos, that one, of course, from the Department of Defense, looking live there at the East Room, standing by here with you. Thanks so much for joining us on RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for streaming in. Also, if you're watching on replay, thanks again for, spreading the word, sharing the link, the Rumble link, YouTube, X, our app, Truth Social Plus, so it's Truth Plus. So there's just a lot of places that you can watch on your favorite platform out there. We love Rumble here at Right Side. Of course, we are just happy that we have a country that you're able to speak like we do here on this network. How about other conservative outlets as well? Being able to speak so freely, we don't want that to ever go away. So we know that in other countries, we do see that happening. Just imagine if it was just the government, they had their state media, they spoke to the people, and then that's it. The people, that's the only way they got their media or their information is from the government direct. That's it, all the time. That's all it was. Well, the thing is we know that in this country, you hear from so many different sources, so many different things going on. But the thing that I like the most about Right Side and conservative media and President Trump is it's all about common sense. It's all about the United States Constitution. It's all about keeping our freedoms. It's all the basics. And if any kind of government goes away from those kind of things, or we see media or these sources talking anything that's anti just common sense, then you might already know there's something up with these guys. Why are they not speaking truth? Why do they not just speak the way the people feel and the way the people think? Well, that's what we are here at this network. That's what conservative media is, all on the side of the people. And we know that President Trump and the team there are we the people as well. So it's great to see that. Looking live there at the event. It looks like what we'll do is we'll hold off on some more videos because this event may kick off any second from now. So let's just do this then. Let's go to President Trump's latest Truth Social post saying, quote, "We are very busy in the White House today working on trade deals. I've spoken to the leaders of many countries, all of whom want to make the United States, quote unquote, extremely happy. I'll be meeting with the South Korean trade delegation this afternoon. South Korea is right now at 25% tariff there, but they have an offer to buy down those tariffs. I'll be interested in hearing what their offer is. The president saying moments ago, we have just concluded a deal with the country of Pakistan, where Pakistan and the United States will work together on developing their massive oil reserves. We are in the process of choosing the oil company that will lead this partnership. Who knows, maybe they'll be selling oil to India someday. Likewise, the president says other countries are making offers for a tariff reduction. All of this will help reduce our trade deficit in a very major way. A full report will be released at the appropriate time. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Of course, President Trump speaking on Truth Social moments ago about trade specifically with South Korea, with Pakistan, and also he'll be speaking here about health technology coming up in just a minute. Again, we're monitoring the latest news that's out there. Today, of course, a shorter broadcast. We started at 3:30 Eastern, but throughout the week, the rest of the week and next week, we'll have plenty of guests on here at the network. But also, we're seeing what people are saying out there. We see President Trump's Truth Social posts about basically holding people accountable that broke the law. So words are powerful, but actions are even more powerful. So we'll see what happens. We're monitoring it here at the network. We want those 20 core promises to continue to be locked in. I know I repeat myself sometimes, but I think that, on the entertainment factor, and people that like to watch news, there's a lot of different ways we can bring the news. There's a lot of different interviews, a lot of different angles. I get all that. But when it comes down to the seriousness of saving our country, it's hard not to repeat what the real bottom line is. It's to make America great again. It's to save our nation and rescue this country so we can speak freely like I'm speaking right now and like you are able to speak, hopefully, wherever you are. We want to keep that going forever in this country. We don't want it to stop when President Trump's out of office. Who knows who the next president will be? So we'll see. All right, so let's, since President Trump's talking about trade, all right, so we were talking recently about the EU trade deal. Why don't we replay a video where President Trump's speaking about that as we await the president there live in the East Room of the White House on this Wednesday, July 30th.
It's the biggest deal ever made, I guess you could say. It's certainly the biggest trade deal ever made. They're buying $750 billion worth of our energy. They're going to invest $600 or $650 billion into the United States, and they're going to invest probably $300 billion for the military, maybe $400 billion in military equipment separately.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive deal for everybody. I think what they did is very smart. They have a deal now with us, and it's going to bring us together. It's going to unite us. We'll work together, but it's numbers that nobody's ever heard of before.
All right, getting ready there, the President of the United States to speak on health technology, making health technology great again. So we'll see the President. As soon as we do, we'll take you there live. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit more about the U.S. trade now with China. So we know that on a Rapid Response 47 video that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and the United States Trade Representative Ambassador Jameson Greer gave an update from Stockholm following the latest round of trade talks with China. Quoting now, we had great momentum going into the meeting thanks to the president's trade deals. I think that the Chinese were surprised by the magnitude. So as we await the president, what we'll do is we'll go to this video. However, maybe we can keep a split screen just in case the president does step into that East Room, as we will go there live regardless of what videos we're playing. Obviously, we'll go directly to the president. So let's take a look.
We had a very fulsome 2 days with the Chinese delegation led by Vice Premier Ho Lifeng. It was our third meeting. I'm happy to say that London built on Geneva, Stockholm built on London and Geneva. I think we had great momentum going into the meeting thanks to the president's trade deals. I think that the Chinese were surprised by the magnitude of the Japan deal, by the magnitude and the terms of the European deal. So I think that they were, they're never compliant, but I believe that they were in more of a mood for a wide-ranging discussion. The discussion centered on the two economies. We had a very in-depth report on them on the Chinese economy. We gave a very detailed report on the U.S. economy. We talked about the trade deals that we were doing with other countries. We expressed our concern about Chinese overcapacity globally and what that might mean for this year, for the next few years. We expressed our concern for their purchases of sanctioned Iranian oil, of which they buy about 90%. We also expressed our regret that we believe that they had sold Russia about $15 billion of dual-use technologies. But the overall tone of the meetings was very constructive, and I will pass it over to Ambassador Greer.
Thank you. We also reiterated the premise of the president's trade program and trade policy, which is to reduce U.S. deficits, increase manufacturing, and reshore our economy. We made sure that they understood that these are the goals of what the president's trying to do. And again, we expressed our satisfaction that many of our major trading partners have come along with this. President von der Leyen in Turnberry on Sunday, when I was there, she specifically mentioned that the U.S.-EU deal is about rebalancing and trying to rectify the giant EU surplus with us. And so we've been happy to be working so constructively with many of our partners. And we had that kind of a discussion with the Chinese as well. And of course, we were here, in the first purpose to confirm the implementation of what was agreed in London in terms of accelerating the flow of rare earth magnets from China to U.S. companies. And then we were able to discuss further how to make sure that the entire U.S. supply chain, including those that go through third countries, could be accelerated. Thank you.
Okay, so getting into the nitty-gritty and various international trade deals, that was specifically when it comes to China, as we await the president to speak on health technology there at the East Room of the White House. If you missed any of our coverage from earlier today, of course, you can replay that, watch that on replay wherever you'd like to watch it here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. In the meantime, let's go from China to Brazil quickly. Now, Brazil, this isn't about a trade deal. This is more about tariffs. Check it out. So I'm reading right now from whitehouse.gov off of my phone here, and specifically the fact sheet, which was released today, July 30th. President Donald J. Trump addresses threats to the United States from the government of Brazil. I'll continue to read on the screen that's here in studio to let you know specifically that this order declares a new national emergency using the president's authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 and establishes an additional 40% tariff to address the government of Brazil's unusual and extraordinary policies and actions harming U.S. companies, the free speech rights of U.S. persons, U.S. foreign policy, and the U.S. economy. Specifically, again, this is about Brazil here, and the president talking about tariffs. The order finds that the government of Brazil's politically motivated persecution, intimidation, harassment, censorship, and prosecution of former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and thousands of his supporters are serious human rights abuses that have undermined the rule of law in Brazil. That's what President Trump, this is the thing. Just because the mainstream media sits on their hands all day and doesn't report the facts, doesn't report really what's happening out there, doesn't really pump up a story, there's different stories out there that are what's real, what's really happening to the people. And you're going to find that in true conservative media, regardless if I worked here. I'll be honest with you there. I would be watching Right Side Broadcasting Network. I would be watching conservative media. I would watch the outlets, the podcasts, because we're on the side of you, the American people. And if you're not on the side of somebody that voted for President Trump, well, hopefully you will be someday, because we don't want that kind of thing happening in our country. I'm going to read that again. This is from the White House directly about the government of Brazil. The 40% tariffs are because of the following. The order finds that the government of Brazil's politically motivated persecution, intimidation, harassment, censorship, and prosecution of former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and thousands of his supporters are serious human rights abuses that have undermined the rule of law in Brazil. We don't want that in the United States of America. We don't want to see that in other countries. We know that China, unfortunately, you're not able to speak freely at all there. Brazil, it's becoming the same thing. We don't want those hands of the deep state and the globalists to get all over our country. That's why we voted for President Trump en masse, not only this past election, but for the past 3 elections, the past 2, 2016, 2020, and 2024. So yes, it's great to report on the wins happening from the White House. Yes, it's wonderful to talk about the accomplishments. The border's being sealed. It's already sealed. It's great. It's great to see ICE deport criminal illegal aliens. Who cares what the left is saying about it? Who cares? I'm going to be straight up about this one. The Drudge Report has gone so far left. It's radically left. It seems like they hate the country. They hate President Trump. They hate freedom. I don't care how many views they have over there. If we have 1,000 views here and they have 1 million, I don't care, because we're on the right side of history. And our number is going to keep growing because we, the people, are fed up with the left-wing lies anyway. Anyway, man, fired up today. Wednesday, July 30th. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side. All right, so President Trump will be speaking on this health technology in any minute from now. So as soon as it starts, we'll take you there. But I just really, you get fired up sometimes because of this stuff, because you want to have peace and safety. You want to have an economy that's doing well. You want to have our streets cleaned up. You want to have our constitutional rights staying with us. And I hope that in 3.5 years, we're not still saying, oh, I hope that there's prosecutions for those that have broken the law and been held, hopefully they're held accountable. A lot of people are saying that. I'm not just saying that. So anyway, all right, let's get back to it here. President Trump began to speak on health technology. Let's go as we continue more about this tariff against Brazil. The president and the White House releasing this information, using leverage to safeguard our interests. President Trump has consistently reaffirmed his commitment to defending the United States' national security, foreign policy, and economy against foreign threats, including by safeguarding free speech, protecting U.S. companies from unlawful censorship, coercion, and holding human rights abusers accountable for their lawless behavior. President Trump and the White House releasing this. You can read this if you'd like as well on the whitehouse.gov. Recently, members of the government of Brazil have taken unprecedented actions to tyrannically and arbitrarily coerce U.S. companies to censor political speech, to platform users, turn over U.S. User data, or change their content moderation policies on pain of extraordinary fines, criminal prosecution, asset freezes, or complete exclusion from the Brazilian market. So the White House says this undermines not only the viability of U.S. companies and the businesses and the operations in Brazil, but also the policy of the United States in promoting free and fair elections and safeguarding fundamental human rights at home and abroad. For example, since 2019, Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes has abused his judicial authority to threaten, target, and intimidate thousands of his political opponents, shield corrupt allies, and suppress dissent, often in coordination with other Brazilian officials, including other justices on Brazil's Supreme Federal Court, to the detriment of U.S. companies operating in Brazil. I'll skim along here. There's a lot to get to, but this is just released by the White House today. And if you're just joining us right now, I'm talking about these 40% tariffs that have been added to Brazil because of their threat to the United States, which is specifically words that I'm reading from the whitehouse.gov webpage on the fact sheet that was just released. Again, a lot of positive things to talk about. I get it, but this one this one's close to my heart because it has to do with freedom and censorship. And also, when you meet the people from Brazil, Portuguese-speaking people that love Jair Bolsonaro, love President Trump, love freedom, they are a great group of people that just want to see freedom in their land. And for our country to step in and say, hey, you know what? 40% additional tariffs on you, you're messing with not only the people of your land, but you're messing with us as well indirectly through companies and people that are U.S. People that are from the United States there. So putting America first, by imposing these tariffs to address the government of Brazil's reckless actions, President Trump is protecting the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States from a foreign threat. In line with this election mandate, President Trump has also taken other actions to achieve peace through strength and ensure foreign policy reflects U.S. values, sovereignty, and security. So that's from, again, the whitehouse.gov. That was released today. So that's some fresh news right there for you if you're looking for any updates on just a number of things that are happening out there. There's a million stories going on, but we know that you can always lean back or always push in or lean in on the U.S. Constitution and keeping that the law of the land here in this country. And anybody that doesn't fight for that is not fighting for we the people, because that's what we want day in and day out. So we can get back to talking about lighter things in this country, like maybe a vacation or something. Of course, we cover all sorts of things. We have a good time here too, but man, we just really want to see our country saved and rescued. I'm not reading from a teleprompter, by the way. I don't know if you guys know that or not. I was reading some of the specifics from the whitehouse.gov on a screen that's behind the camera, but anyway, just riffing a little bit. All right, let's go to callsheet.com/RSBN, callsheet.com. If you're looking to bet or trade or check out various polls, you can on Callsheet, whether it's science, technology, politics, faith, sports, weather, all sorts of things. You can go to callsheet.com/RSBN. Use that app as well, or the website, either way, or go to the QR code. It'll take you right there as well. Great sponsor here. So is AngelPace.com out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans. They have great products there. That's the flagship product, the Miracle Cream. There's other products as well, and you can use the RSBN promo code that'll get you a percentage off for AngelPace.com, the great Miracle Cream, and also the other products there. Thanks so much for being a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 4/24, Wednesday, July 30th, awaiting the Commander-in-Chief, the leader of the free world, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to stand out there and to speak about making health technology great again. So we'll see what specifically he'll talk about in any moment from now. In the meantime, speaking of health, I was trying to lose a number of pounds by now, and I didn't get to it, but I have to eat better. But it's great to see that Make America Healthy again. They're trying to get all of the toxins and junk out of the foods. That's always going to be a good thing. So hopefully from the inside out, make America healthy again. So, and thinking about making America healthy again as well, how about our mind and our soul and our emotion too? I mean, through prayer, through meditation, through therapy, whatever it takes to become healthy inside, outside, and every way moving forward, because that's always a good thing. 4/25, I think it is. Yeah, Wednesday, July 30th. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Went through a number of videos from earlier in the day. If you're just joining us right now, earlier today, President Trump spoke about various topics, including Nancy Pelosi becoming rich by having inside information, the president said. He said she made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. She ought to be investigated, end quote. We're seeing out of a Senate committee today that there's a bill that's passing through that's talking about insider trading and that kind of thing as well. I saw that with Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. So we'll see if there's any legs to that in the sense of it being passed in the future. But the president's talking a lot about holding people accountable lately. If you've watched his Truth Social page, if you've heard what he says during various press conferences, he's definitely talking about it. So let's see what the DOJ, the FBI, and others do when it comes to simply this, just holding people accountable that broke the law, whether that's a prosecution through an investigation, because there's so many receipts and evidence out there already for us to protect our country and to save it from having bad actors ever try and run it into the ground like it almost was during the Biden administration. Man, our country was... I'm glad President Trump won. So now what are we going to do with the next 3.5 years? We've seen a lot of wins by the president. We still want to see that information from the DOJ and the FBI when it comes to what Tulsi Gabbard was talking about recently about the Russia hoax. Will there be investigations? Will there be indictments? Will this really happen? And then also, of course, the Epstein case when it comes to the DOJ. So we want to see transparency and to see this truth talked about, and also our country being saved. So again, the economy, the wins in the economy are great. The border being sealed is awesome. The inflation down to what, 2% now? All of the things that we're seeing out there, ICE deportations, building the wall, all of the things that we saw from President Trump when he spoke on the campaign trail. You think about the campaign trail and all of those rallies that we covered here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We weren't just doing that for just our health. We were doing that because we knew that this is the right side of history to be on, is common sense leadership, common sense for the American people, fighting for we the people. And, that's what we heard, these campaign promises. Well, most of them, if not all of them, are already being kept. But there's a few more that still need to be taken care of. Ending the weaponization of the government against the people, against any president, like we've seen the lawfare against President Trump and against we the people over the years. So as long as the people that have broken the law are held accountable, that's all I'm saying. Because guess what? Those 20 core promises, sealing the border, defending the Constitution, no men and women's sports, making us energy independent again, on and on and on. All of those will stay locked in for these 3.5 years that we have with President Trump and into the future, because if there's no more deep state actors trying to control the White House or get one of their puppets in like it was with Biden and others over the years, that means our country is actually going to, that burden that some of us still sense, that hangover from Biden is still there for some people. I mean, that was some real tough things that our country had to go through. And just because President Trump's in office, does that mean that we're good now? I believe yes, only if there's a fulfillment of these 20 core promises, and we're seeing it happen. But as many have said on this program, there needs to be a number of things that happen to keep those reforms protected, because I'll end it with this. If we were to get another president that is not on the right side of history, maybe the next term or the term after that, what stops them from reversing everything that President Trump is doing right now? So if we don't hold people accountable, it's just going to be possibly many times worse under that next president than we thought with Joe Biden. I mean, look at these AOCs of the world and Cory Bookers of the world and Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer's of the world. These are extreme people that really don't like freedom. And there are some that are in the Republican Party that are the same way. Ugh. That's called the swamp. That's called establishment. That's called uniparty. Blech. You know that emoji that's on the iPhone when it shows the face and it shows the green vomit sticking out? That's what that is. We don't want that anymore in this country. And trust me, we'll get back to cover the news and all that, but we have freedom of speech here at the network and on conservative media, so we're allowed to share our opinions. But it's an opinion that I think resonates with the American people. And I think, after years of working in conservative media since 2022 in September, now it's 2025 here in July, and I'm going to stay in conservative media. I'm not going to mainstream. I was in mainstream for the local news aspect of it, getting training just on the basics of getting in front of a camera and covering various events. And I've met a whole ton of people. I've shaken the hand of Barack Obama and President George W. Bush. I've been around these, the White House and the Pentagon and all that. I've seen what's out there, but I don't care about the mainstream media. And I think even though that the problem is 90% of media is mainstream. So that's why Rush Limbaugh was so bad, I'll just call it badass, because he was the start. He started it all. He's the one, that voice, kind of like in the Bible, crying in the wilderness. He was that voice on the radio. And the mainstream media, nope, they were still, holding water for the Democrats. What a joke. I'm so glad that Rush Limbaugh was with us. And I'm so glad that we have President Trump, who called out the fake news as well. It's been great to be a part of conservative media, and it's going to be great to have that in the future here. And many people that are in conservative media, and all the podcasters and influencers and people that even if it's one thing on Truth Social and you've got 250,000 followers on Truth, you're doing something for we the people. You don't have to be on TV or on radio or on a podcast or be famous, or it takes just one person to encourage, just to open their eyes and say, the mainstream media, we already know what they're about. Also, we have to save our country. Here's how we do it, you know? So, all right, let's go to a couple sponsors as we await the President of the United States there. When it comes to debt, pdsdebt.com/RSBN. So the system isn't broken, it's actually rigged. And if you're buried in debt, that's exactly how they want it. Big banks, they profit when you're desperate. Creditors win when you lose, but you don't have to play their game. PDS Debt helps you take back control. They've helped hundreds of thousands break free from credit cards, loans, high interest traps. It's your money, it's your future. It's time to fight for both. And you can do that with PDS Debt right here. They go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs in your pocket. So PDS Debt is an A+ rated business by the Better Business Bureau. It boasts thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and holds a 5-star rating on Trustpilot, because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. And this is definitely a product that I'd use if I ever needed it. I know the number of people that are saying, well, there's a little bit of debt. You know, this is a great spot to work with. Think about this. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/RSBN. That's pdsdebt.com/RSBN. Having debt sometimes isn't the worst thing when it comes to like real estate and stuff, but I'm not going to act like I know the stuff when it comes to being an economist. But there's, you know, if there's some debt out there, it's always good to work with this company, pdsdebt.com/RSBN. Also, let's go to our next sponsor, Tax Network USA. Speaking of money and settling back taxes, you can settle your back taxes, or at least get on that page with this group, this Tax Network USA. 800-357-1415 is the number. tnusa.com/RSBN is the website. Great site there, great people to work with. tnusa.com/RSBN, as we see a number of people walking in there at the White House. Why don't we take it there live as we await the President of the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
And we have a lot of great people here, and we've been looking forward to this day, but we sort of look forward to every day because we have a lot of surprises, most of which are good. Today you saw GDP was much higher than anticipated, and Scott, good job. Scott Bessent's been working, just got back from a little excursion and a meeting with China in Europe. and that went well. We've done very well with the EU deal. It's a very big deal, I guess. They say the biggest trade deal ever made by far, probably is. Just completed Japan and many other countries, and hundreds of billions of dollars is flowing into our country. We've never seen anything even close. And that's not me saying it, that's everybody saying it. And it's going to be something really, really very special. Maybe even more importantly, factories for AI and for cars and for lots of other things are being built in this country or planned to be built very shortly. They'll be starting. And where they need great amounts of energy, like for AI, they're going to be, I've given them approval. And Lee Zeldin has given them very fast approval to build their own electric powering plants, and they'll build them with the factory, so we don't have to worry about an ancient grid and all of the other problems, the obstacles people thought we were going to have that would make it impossible. And we're leading AI by a lot, and I think people are very impressed with our country. As they said, the King of Saudi Arabia and various leaders, and just about every leader I can even imagine, we were in the Middle East and Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, they said, 1 year ago, your country was dead, and today you have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and that's true. So I congratulate everybody in the room that's helped, but we're doing a good job together. I'd like to begin by saying a few words about the unbelievable kind of numbers that we've been putting up. And as I said, the number of 3%, the pace in the second quarter, we smashed all expectations. They thought it would be maybe a little bit less than 2, and it was 3, a little bit more than 3. Consumer spending is up. Business investment is way up. Domestic manufacturing is way up. Real disposable family income is up, and personal savings are up. Other than that, we're not doing so great. We have the hottest country, and I'll tell you, it's a great. We're having a lot of fun with it. At the same time, we dramatically slashed government spending for the second quarter in a row, down nearly 4%, which people were surprised at. We do a lot of cutting also. The private sector has boomed with nearly 600,000 jobs added, way above expectations, while we have reduced the federal workforce by 70,000 jobs. So these are private jobs that are coming back to our country. Federal jobs are being cut. Critics said that our tariffs would hurt the economy, but the data shows the exact opposite, and the exact opposite is happening. The U.S. Treasury has taken in $150 billion from tariffs, and we'll be adding about $200 billion next month for totals that nobody's ever seen before, frankly. And foreign imports were down 30% in the second quarter, while the domestic auto production surged by a stunning 36%. How about that number, Dr. Oz? Right? That's good. That's good. We want to do that with your patients, too. We'll have a very healthy. We're going to have a very healthy country. At the same time, inflation continues to fall faster than expectations, and for the 5th consecutive month, core inflation was lower than predicted substantially. This is truly the dawn of the golden age of America. That's what we're in. We want to keep it that way. This afternoon, we're gathered to announce another historic victory for the American people, very important one. Today, the dream of easily transportable electronic medical records finally becomes a reality. I want to thank Secretary Scott Bessent, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for joining us, as well as Administrator of the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, all friends of mine, White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs, and Acting Administrator of DOJ, Amy Gleason, all here, and we have various great senators here, Senator Round, Senator Cassidy, thank you very much for being here and helping out. I also want to thank representatives from Apple, Google, Samsung, Amazon, OpenAI, Anthropic, Epic, Oracle, Athena, Health, Noom, and that's not a bad group of people. Wow. And they're the top people. We don't play games. You know, when you invite people to the White House, the top ones, that's a big net worth sitting in this room right now. Boy, oh boy, we better make sure the room is nice and safe. It's half the net worth of our country. I'm also grateful to be joined by many numerous congressmen. I'm not going to name you if you don't mind. I'll probably never get their vote again, but it's too many. Thank you very much for being here. The Congress has been great. Senators have been great, and the congressmen and women have been great. We just passed the most important, I think, look, I can't say most important, but certainly one of the most, but the most consequential and the largest bill in the history of Congress. And I call it the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it different names, but it all means the same thing. For decades, America's healthcare networks have been overdue for a high-tech upgrade, and that's what we're doing. The existing systems are often slow, costly, and incompatible with one another. But with today's announcement, we take a major step to bring healthcare into the digital age, something that is absolutely vital. You got to do it. Moving from clipboards and fax machines into a new era of convenience, profitability, and speed, and frankly, better health for people. Under the leadership of Administrator Oz, we're officially launching the CMS Digital Health Tech Ecosystem to give healthcare providers, insurers, and software companies the tools they need to empower Americans with a 21st century experience on health. The key breakthrough we've made is getting many of the biggest names in the healthcare and technology to agree to industry-wide standards for electronic medical records. All of those great companies that you just heard have gotten together with this group of very brilliant people. I don't know who's more brilliant, them or them. I don't know. Could be them. I hate to tell you. It could very well be them. But I don't know. I'm going to take my team. But the key breakthrough we've made is getting many of the biggest names in healthcare and technology to agree to that those standards of electronic medical records that we talk about and you've heard about for so many years, and now it's happening. This will allow patients to easily transmit information from one doctor to another, even if they're different networks and using different record-keeping systems. No matter what system they use, they're all transferable. The new standards will also make it simple for patients to access their own personal health records. I don't want to see mine, please. I don't want to see. I don't know about you. They have all sorts of things, sir. They can tell you exactly what your problem is going to be in 6 years. We can do it. You know, they have all these different things. I don't know if they work or not, but I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. If they got a problem, I don't want to know about it right now. But it is amazing what they're doing. I don't know. Does it actually work? Can they do that? All right. Well, then I'm glad I said I don't want to know. But thanks to this announcement, healthcare providers across the country will also finally be able to kill the clipboard. It's an expression that's used, capital, with a capital C, kill the clipboard. Instead of filling out the same tedious paperwork at every medical appointment, patients will simply be able to grant their doctors access to their records at the push of a button, just a button, and you're all set, and all the information the doctor needs will be immediately transmitted. The system will be entirely opt-in, and there will be no centralized government-run database, which everyone is always concerned about. I'm less concerned than anybody. I say whatever it is. But people are very, very concerned about the personal records. They want to keep them very quiet, and that's their choice. I think it's a great thing because it'll be absolutely quiet. Instead, doctors and patients will always remain in control. The benefits to millions of Americans will be enormous. We will save time, we will save money, and most importantly, we'll save lives. It's just going to make people live longer and be a lot healthier. I think that's really what you're looking to do. And now I'd like to ask Secretary Kennedy to say a few words, followed by David Sachs, Dr. Oz, and Amy Gleason. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I just want to begin by making a comment that is irrelevant to what we're gathered here today to talk about, but I've been coming to this building for 65 years, and I have to say that it's never looked better. I've spent some time in the Oval Office, which really it's been transformed. And I was looking at a picture of the Oval Office the other day when I was there, when I was a kid with my uncle. And, you know, it was extraordinary. It's always extraordinary to go into that sacred space. But I have to say that it looked kind of drab in the pictures. And they're black and white pictures, but it looked drab. And it looks the opposite of drab today. And I think, I know all these portraits, I hope you get a chance to look at them when you go out there, that they were handpicked for the president. And many of them hijacked from other agencies that were trying to keep them. But I mean, you know, my uncle, my aunt, Jackie, who were deeply committed to design, to beauty, and who understood that it's important to have our public buildings be beautiful because it inspires us, it elevates the human spirit. It's one of the, it is a template, it's an example, an exemplar for democracy, the releasing through freedoms of the creativity of the human spirit. And this building, of all buildings, should look beautiful. And under your stewardship, it looks extraordinary today. So thank you, Mr. President, for that. About 3 weeks ago, I met with the Indonesian health minister. And Indonesia today is regarded as the highest flourishing nation on earth. Since 1990, it has increased the lifespan of its women by 8 years, of its men by 9 years. There's no country that has a record like that. And there are two major innovations that allowed them to achieve that extraordinary outcome. And one of those was to disincentivize people from eating processed foods. Oh, you are paid not to eat processed foods, and you are penalized for eating processed foods. The other innovation that really transformed Indonesia was allowing people control of their individual health records. He showed me the app that they use that everybody in Indonesia has. And it shows your height, your weight, your blood type, your BMI, your cardiac markers, your diabetes markers, your cholesterol, and any kind of individualized treatments that you've had. So if you go to a doctor in another town, he doesn't do what we have to do here, which is to sit there with a clipboard and a fax machine in order to get your health records. It's available, and it allows them to give better treatment. It also allows you to make better choices over your life. And there's other apps like Yaka in Indonesia that allow you to choose good foods when you go to the grocery store. So you can turn your app on your phone and you can get full information of those foods. Well, now if you have your medical records, you can get personalized advice. And that app will also give you advice about a better alternative. So we're going to be able to, Dr. Oz and I met with the former Prime Minister Rudd of Australia just after the election during the transition phase. And he, after his retirement as Prime Minister, he ran a commission to reorganize the Australian health system, and they revolutionized it, and they vastly improved health in Australia. And he said the single thing that he did that was most important to that transformation was the transparency that occurs when people control their own health records. Because it gives people the choice over their own health decisions and over their own lives, and it gives them a sense of responsibility and allows them to measure the interventions if they change their diet, if they change their exercise. It can show you how many steps you took today. It can tell you if your glucose is spiking. And all of that information will now be available to American citizens. 60 years ago today, we passed Medicaid and Medicare in this country. And we have 60 CEOs in this room of these extraordinary companies, some of which the president just mentioned, that have all agreed voluntarily to start sharing information. President Trump, during his first term, passed the interoperability rule. And it was intended to do this for 20 years. The federal government has been trying to do this. Everybody recognizes it's absolutely critical innovation for us advancing the health of American citizens, to give them responsibility and to give them control over their own healthcare choices. And unfortunately, you ran out of time the last time around. President Trump gave us instructions that he wanted this to happen within 6 months. We barely made it under the wire thanks to Dr. Oz's leadership. And within 6 months, every American's going to be doing it thanks to the cooperation of the corporate leaders in this room. You know, about 3 months ago, I met with the food executives, and I asked them to voluntarily come forward and get rid of food dyes, of the 9 synthetic petroleum dyes. And this is something, again, the government, Democrats and Republicans have been trying to do for 20 years. And the industry came forward, and now 40% of the food industry in this country has taken the pledge to remove food dyes from all of their foods. That happened because of your leadership, Mr. President. A month ago, we got, after a lot of work by Chris Klump and Dr. Oz and a lot of other people in our agency, we got all the insurance executives to come together in our country and in our offices and agree to get rid of pre-authorization for 80% of the DSM codes. This is a voluntary agreement. 80% of the industry has now agreed to do that. So this is happening because of good leadership. President Trump, you've asked us to think big. You've inspired us to dream big. And you've enabled us to accomplish things that no other president has been able to do. So I want to thank you for your leadership, for allowing this to happen. And with your leadership, we're going to make America healthy again. Now I want to introduce my friend, my colleague, the crypto czar, the acting administrator of Doge, David Sachs.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. I recently got a text message from a friend whose wife has been suffering from a chronic illness for something like a decade, and they've been trying to figure out what it is. They've never been able to figure it out. And I just want to read this to you right off my phone. He said, I uploaded my wife's blood work into one of our leading AI engines on Friday. It essentially diagnosed her as having a rare genetic defect that causes bone marrow failure. It's caused every single thing that's happened to her. She has every single symptom. It started at exactly the same age of presentation. It's 10 people out of 1 million. There's absolutely no way this is not it. So wow, it's really an incredible example of what AI is already able to do just today, and we're just getting started. And this was one person putting his wife's data in one of our consumer AI apps, and he's already been able to get that diagnosis, and that's going to help them tremendously. The key is the unlocking of the data, because the more data that AI has, the better it performs. And so, kudos to Dr. Oz and Secretary Kennedy for this pledge today. They were able to get 60 major companies across different sectors of the economy to agree to unlock their data so that AI can use it to drive better patient outcomes. And this is, all due to your leadership and President Trump's leadership to put the American people's healthcare needs first. And I remember Dr. Oz, he was one of the first people to call me during the transition when the president announced I'd be AI czar, because he wanted to ask me about how AI could better be used in healthcare. So kudos to you, Dr. Oz. Your passion's really incredible. And kudos to you, Secretary Kennedy, your passion as well. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was a big fan of Bobby Kennedy when he was running as a Democrat. And I remember thinking...
He gave a lot more money than President Trump.
Well, I remember thinking there's this one problem with Bobby Kennedy. He's not a Republican. But thanks to President Trump, I think we fixed that. So, And I think that, getting people like Dr. Oz and Bobby Kennedy into the administration is a testament to President Trump and the talent that he's able to attract and pull together, and the partnerships that he's able to forge, because these are people who could be doing other things. So it's really a testament to the great talent that President Trump always attracts around him. Today's pledge by these companies is going to tear down barriers that allows both startups and established firms to compete freely. We're opening up the playing field so that the best tools can scale, compete on value, and discover new methods for making Americans healthy again. Technologies like AI, they do things like they will expand access to care, cut administrative costs, reduce fraud, and deliver better results for patients and doctors. And I want to thank you, President Trump, for your promise to not only make Americans healthy again, but also to ensure that America is the predominant AI superpower. Just last week, you announced a major AI action plan with hundreds of billions of dollars of new investment in AI infrastructure, and also getting red tape out of the way so that we can be the leading country in AI. And it's these life-saving applications that are going to be built on top of all of that infrastructure. So thank you for your leadership in making the United States the #1 country in AI.
David, thank you.
And now, Dr. Oz.
Mr. President, today we are making American health technology remarkably great again. We've always been at the leadership. David's right. I called him early on after the president offered me the position, and him as well. And we began brainstorming on this. Secretary Kennedy from day one appreciated the crisis that we're in and how we needed to address it. So today is a remarkably important day, one that you will remember, I believe, for years to come, for 3 reasons. Yes, it is the 60th birthday of Medicare and Medicaid. The first patient, by the way, was Harry S. Truman. Although Lyndon Johnson signed the legislation 60 years ago today, not far from here. It is not just the ability to bring 60 of the top incumbents and insurgents in health technology, hospital systems, insurance companies, electronic medical record companies, AI companies, the big players. You're all here, and we appreciate that very much. But, Mr. President, you used the power to convene. That's fundamentally what I think the president has been able to offer us. And Secretary Kennedy offered us, as a group, some examples, but there are more to come. And I want to touch on some of these. But first, I've got to do what doctors often have to do, which is to tell you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. So here goes. These beautiful programs, which are the backbone of the social network, the social support system of this country, the safety net, they're flailing. They're flailing for a bunch of reasons. Medicaid is a unique entity. It has deviated from its original purpose by drift and by design. The One Big Beautiful Bill, the OB3 law, was elegant for that very reason. And President, I don't know if you remember this, I can share this, but he called me once and he was upset at me because I was going too strident at something. And he said, this is about fraud, waste, and abuse. That's what we're interested in doing. And that's exactly what the One Big Beautiful Bill accomplished. And it especially did it to save Medicaid by putting $200 billion more dollars into it and allocating funds very specifically to use to support rural America. And primarily, some of that money will be used to support digital infrastructure, which is terribly lacking in many parts of the country. The money that's sent from Washington doesn't get to rural America. About 7% of Medicaid dollars get to rural hospitals. We now have an ability to infuse funds through this $50 billion Rural Health Transformation Fund into that system. The gathering today is another example of how we can actually jumpstart that and accelerate it. The other reality is COVID broke the system. It did for many reasons. Medicaid expenses went up 50% in 5 years. Medicare, the trust fund that we met at actually Treasury with Secretary Bessent and Secretary Kennedy as trustees, it goes bankrupt in 2033. And that is actually a conservative estimate. It could go bankrupt as early as 2029. Thankfully, due to the economy, that's not going to happen. But we don't want to have to take that risk. And there's some fundamental changes we need to make accordingly. Now, there's one other big reality about making the system more efficient, which is why what everyone here is talking about is so critical. And let's just pick an average American born in 1964. That average American born in 64 will retire this year at age 61. If just that one group of people born in 64 could work 3 years longer because they're healthy, because they feel like they want to do it, because they feel vital and vigorous and they're flourishing, just that 1 year working longer is $1 trillion to the U.S. GDP, and is $300 billion of tax revenue to pay for a lot of the problems that people are concerned about. So it's not just keeping people out of the hospital, getting them to thrive and flourish that makes what we're doing so critical today. I think there are a lot of realities to how healthcare has gone. Unfortunately, the system is frozen, and it has been for many reasons, despite efforts in the first administration. It's frozen in time, so it cannot address the quality lags that exist. While Netflix and Airbnb and Uber drivers are racing ahead, making arrangements, identifying the problems that are challenging us in healthcare have become incredibly difficult. You can't make appointments. The average Americans are tired. They're tired of waiting for a doctor's appointment. They're tired of waiting for the surprise of what your hospital bill is going to offer. That's being addressed by one of the president's executive orders. They're tired of waiting for access to their medical records. You own your medical records. They're yours. Why you can't have access to them is a stunning reality in modern day America. They're also tired of waiting for Washington to take action. And this president early on emphatically stated that wasn't going to happen anymore. And today we made that vision into a reality. And there's a fine line between vision and hallucination. What you did today was show it's a vision because you share it with us and we're moving ahead on it. And that's what today's commitments essentially are reflecting. And they are pledges. They're not laws. They're nimble and they're fast and they're quick because the president understands that you, each of you in your own way, understand these needs. And Secretary Kennedy spoke beautifully about the reality of what happens when you actually have electronic records, because what he said is happening in Indonesia, we'll have here. Within a year on your device, and 91% of Medicaid patients have smartphones. On this device, you'll get insights based on your records if you want. You don't have to take this, but if you desire, Amy Gleason is one of the smartest people I've ever worked with, has built a mechanism to be able to get you that information in a way with all these partners helping so that you can get nudged to pay attention to what you're eating and avoid processed foods that Secretary Kennedy smartly and wisely highlighted as so dangerous to our well-being. All this, by the way, is that will be at the fingertips. In addition, advice about which doctor to see, when to go see them, nudges, reminding you why I didn't do certain things. If you're a doctor like me, it's a very different story. It's to help you navigate the system better. It's giving you advice, decision support, which is becoming increasingly important as medicine gets more difficult. But I'll tell you the best thing of all, how many of you have been with your doctor telling them something heartfelt, very emotional, and they're looking to the side, typing into their computer, right? It's common. Put your hands up. I just want to see it. Yeah, most everybody. And that's unfortunate because the whole sacrament, the whole covenant of being with the doctor is having them look you in the eyes and realize you're there for each other. That process is going to go away. We will, within the workflow of doctors, be able, with your help, allow physicians to take care of patients, gather the information while they're doing it, and will destroy the upcoding that has hurt Medicare Advantage and other programs in a similar fashion. The IT infrastructure that's going to change promises to improve a lot of things. We're going to cut fraud, waste, and abuse. Mr. President, we announced with the DOJ 2 weeks ago a $15 billion bust. $15 billion. It's a multinational criminal syndicate based primarily, we believe, in the Soviet Union, in Russia. And what they did was hack using beneficiary numbers into the system. We'll be able to stop that because of a system that Amy has put together and the wonderful work of Amy Brandt, who has a fraud war room using this kind of technology, because we'll know who you are and who your doctor is so we can block this. We're going to have remarkable advances in how consumers can use their own records. We'll have beneficiaries be able to get MAHA advice and prevention tips and even be able to nudge them and reward them perhaps for that. And all this comes back to one fundamental issue, Mr. President, which is leadership. I think 60 people, the biggest, the best, the willing, came forward because of your leadership, because you weren't going to take no for an answer, and they know it. We are building a robust and safe, I emphasize that, safe system. It's going to protect the data better than we could have imagined. We're going to be able to accomplish goals that all of us wished from day one that would be in place. These pledges are now confirmed. They're signed in public. You have therefore empowered Americans to own their property, which is their medical records. Let me introduce Amy Gleason. She is acting director of DOJ, U.S. Digital Service as well, and was actually the brilliant woman who pulled together the pieces of this puzzle with so many members of the audience. Amy Gleason.
Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank President Trump for his leadership in this area, and Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Oz for driving this work with clarity and urgency. I would also like to thank my colleagues who have been instrumental to this, and we've worked a lot of late nights and hard times on this, and it would not have been possible without them. I want to start today with my daughter Morgan, who's here in the audience. If you'd please stand up. I am so inspired and energized by your strength every day. And we also have two other patients here, Randy and Tom, who have been very inspiring. Thank you for being here today. You're why this all matters. Let me start talking about my daughter's history. So 15 years ago, she was diagnosed with a rare disease. She was 11 years old, and she started showing mysterious symptoms. Over the last year and a half after that, she saw the country's best doctors, but she still continued to get worse. At some point, she couldn't stand up off the floor or walk up the stairs, and we still had no answers. I carried a binder of paper records to every doctor's appointment so that I could keep them aligned. And I truly believe that if one of those doctors had been able to see her whole history, they would have diagnosed her faster. And if we had just had today's AI, then they could have connected the dots that the humans missed. Today, Morgan takes 21 pills a day, gets 2 infusions a month, and has over 40 patient portals. Her disease is very rare, but her experience is very common. And that is what we're here to fix today. Too many patients are forced to remember all the doctors that they've been to and log into portal after portal, repeating their story at every visit, and they don't have the digital tools to help them stay well. Meanwhile, every other part of our life is digital. I can order groceries and have them delivered in minutes. I get personalized recommendations on my other apps. But in healthcare, we still see it on paper and manual situations. But today, thanks to President Trump, we're changing that. Over 15 years, we've tried to regulate our way to a better outcome. And we have gotten a path forward, but they have not delivered the modern healthcare experience that Americans expect and deserve. I'm so proud today that these 60 companies have voluntarily stepped forward to make a pledge to take action and to join us to say, we're ready. Let's fix this. We're in. We're trying something different. It's not regulation or rulemaking. This is a voluntary alignment around a shared vision, a commitment to work across boundaries, across competitors, and across silos. We're bringing together data sharing networks, electronic medical records, doctors, health systems, payers, and app developers. And we're asking one simple question. What can we do right now to make this work for patients? The companies pledging today are agreeing to collaborate, even with their direct competitors, because they know we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We have to stop talking about data interoperability and make the data flow. Here's something important. Not all patients will want these tools. Some will rely on their caregivers, and others will rely on their doctors, so they don't have to carry it themselves. But no matter how people engage, we must make sure it works for everyone. CMS is doing its part. We're clearing the path for innovation by building the long overdue National Provider Directory, a kind of digital map for healthcare that connects systems in real time and helps patients get more coordinated care. We're also modernizing Medicare.gov to feel more seamless and smart like other apps we use. But the government can't do this and shouldn't do it alone. These tools we need to make daily decisions must come from the private sector, and that's why this is so important. So let me tell you what this might look like after our collaborative effort. So Morgan, in 6 months from now, might show up to her doctor's appointment, and instead of filling out a clipboard with her 21 medications, 12 doctors, and her entire medical history, she can just pull out her phone and tap or scan a QR code and seamlessly transfer her digital insurance card, her verified medical record, and a digital summary that could help her provider get up to speed faster. We call this kill the clipboard, as President Trump said. After the visit, Morgan opens her AI assistant, a tool that she has authorized to access her records, and asks, what did the doctor say today? What did these results mean? What should I watch for now? And the assistant responds using her actual health history, explains her care plan in plain language, helps her track her symptoms, and even schedules follow-up visits if she needs them. And lastly, she has a new favorite app that helps her manage her chronic conditions. Because for years, Morgan has said what other patients say, I only see a doctor a few days a year, but I live with this disease every day. Today, we're starting with apps that can support patients 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. They don't replace doctors, they just fill in the gap between visits so that care is continuous and not episodic. So what makes this effort different? Today, we have all these apps that want to provide these services, but they can't get the data because it is so hard for patients to access their records. But today, we have 18 network companies who are here pledging to fix the infrastructure that makes this possible. They're doing this through modern data sharing networks that removes the burden on patients and providers and makes it available in real time using modern identity, just like when you check in at the airport. These honor patient privacy and transparency, and most importantly, it's a movement to work together to remove the friction that's holding us back. Because access to information shouldn't be a luxury, it should be a standard. So for all the Morgans out there, come join this movement with us at cms.gov. Let's kill the clipboard and axe the facts. Let's help make health tech great again. Or in this case, maybe it's for the first time. Thank you, President Trump.
Thank you very much. That was great. And hello. You look very, very healthy to me. You look really great. So just, I want to thank all of the companies that are here. These are big names, great people. Now you're doing something that's so important for our country, really for the world. It's beyond our country, I suspect. It's really for the world. So just keep it up. And you've hit new highs almost virtually every day for the last few months. And that makes your job probably a little bit easier. You're under very little stress. But someday you might have a little bit, but you're not going to have much. I think we're really going to great heights. But I just want to thank everybody, political people and the teachers and the companies and all of our cabinet. I even see Newt. Do I see Newt? I see Newt. Look at him. He's such a handsome man. He's a healthy man. We don't have to do any tests on him. But good to see you, Newt. But I just want to thank everybody. This is a very big undertaking, and it's a very serious undertaking. It's going to make a lot of people lead a much better life. Thank you all very much for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I call you by MFN? Yeah. Can we start?
All right, President Trump back to work there. You saw him just walk right off there in the East Room of the White House. A great event there. Also, speaking of President Trump, let's look at his latest Truth Social post. He said, why would one quote-unquote Republican, Senator Josh Hawley from the great state of Missouri, join with all of the Democrats to block a review sponsored by Senator Rick Scott and with the support of almost all other Republicans of Nancy Pelosi's stock trading over the last 25 years? The information, the president says, was inappropriately released just minutes before the vote. Very, very much like sabotage, the president says. The Democrats, because of our tremendous achievements and success, have been trying to target me for a long period of time, and they're using Josh Hawley, who I got elected twice, as a pawn to help them. I wonder why Hawley would pass a bill that Nancy Pelosi is in absolute love with. He is playing right into the dirty hands of the Democrats. It's a great bill for her and her husband, but so bad for our country. President Trump says, I don't think real Republicans want to see their president, who has had unprecedented success, targeted because of the whims of a second-tier senator named Josh Hawley. So that from Truth Social, if you'd like to check it out there, as we just read some of it from the live post right there on Truth Social. That from the president, just reading what he is saying there as we continue our live coverage. It's 5:16. Thanks so much for streaming in today. Various live coverage that we had for you today. We'll have more tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week, which is only one more day after tomorrow, of course, Friday. And then we'll continue on covering conservative news right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All of this brought to you by some awesome sponsors, including allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code. Also, callsheet.com/RSBN. If you'd like to bet, trade, or at least check out some polls on there, you can do that. So thank you guys for being a sponsor. Let's go to Angel Paste as well. Thanks so much for being a sponsor here at Right Side. PDS Debt as well is one of the great sponsors here. PDSdebt.com/RSBN. Tax Network USA. Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415, and mypillow.com/RSBN. You see the free shipping right there. Some great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for streaming in on this Wednesday, July 30th. For all of us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.